Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
This day in sports history. It's April 7th, and on this day in 1928, an unlikely substitution literally saved the New York Rangers and eventually helped them win their first Stanley Cup a few days later. The Rangers were in the Stanley Cup Finals against the Montreal Maroons. It was Game 2 of the best-of-5 series, with Montreal the winners of Game 1. Scoreless in the opening minutes of the second period, Rangers goalie Lorne Chabot took a puck to the face just above his eye. Now remember, goalies weren't even close to wearing masks yet. Blood gushed from the injury, and Chabot was hustled off the ice and rushed to a local hospital. Now, head coach Lester Patrick had a problem. He did not have a backup goalie. Rules of the day are similar to what they are now in that you could insert an emergency goalie, but it had to be approved by the other team. Patrick knew the goalie for the Ottawa Senators, Alex Connell, was at the arena that night, and he let Maroons coach Eddie Girard know he was going to get him. Girard said, "Nuh-uh." There was also a minor league goalie in attendance that night. Patrick offered him as a substitute. Girard vetoed that as well. Patrick was livid, so he decided to suit up and insert himself as the goalie. Patrick had been a defenseman for 20 years in the league prior to joining the Rangers as manager and coach, and as a player, he had played goalie in a few emergency situations. So he grabbed Chabot's sweaty and bloody gear and skated out to the pipes, his silver hair glistening in the lights. Following a 40-minute delay, the game restarted. Now, those who reported on the game said it looked like the 44-year-old Patrick flailed around the net like a wounded duck. But the Rangers played cautiously on the offensive end and were aggressive in protecting Patrick on the defensive side. Montreal were only able to get off long shots that Patrick was able to stop easily, and at the end of the second period, the game was still scoreless. In the third, the Rangers scored the game's first goal in the first 30 seconds, and it stayed that way for 13 minutes until a weak shot by the Maroons slid slowly through the five-hole of Patrick, and the game was tied. The game eventually went to sudden death overtime. In the overtime, Montreal sent a waist-high shot hurtling at Patrick. He dropped the cumbersome goalie stick and caught the puck with two hands, just to be safe. Minutes later, the Rangers got the game winner from Frank Boucher, tying the series at a game apiece. New York players skated to their coach in the pipes, lofted him on their shoulders, and carried him off the ice as the hero. The Rangers were given permission by the league the following day to bring in Joe Miller, who had played with the New York Americans. Lester Patrick returned to the bench. The Rangers won the next two games to win their first ever Stanley Cup. In 1935, Gene Sarazen hit his shot heard round the world at the Masters when he holed out from the fairway for a 2 at the par 5 15th hole at Augusta National. Minutes before, Sarazen and his playing partner that day, Walter Hagen, had heard the roar of the crowd surrounding the 18th green after Craig Wood's birdie putt rolled in, giving him a 3-shot lead. There were not many to witness Sarazen's incredible shot, only an estimated 10 or 12 people, but one of those who was standing by the green, who watched the ball strike the far bank of the water hazard, skip onto the putting surface, and softly roll into the cup for a 2, was Bobby Jones. The famous double eagle tied Sarazen for the lead. He parred the final 3 holes to force a playoff. And the only time the Masters decided the winner in this way, Sarazen and Wood played a 36-hole playoff on Monday that Sarazen won by 5 strokes. In 1963, it was a little less dramatic of a finish as 23-year-old Jack Nicklaus hit a 3-foot par putt on the 18th to win the first of his 6 green jackets. Nicklaus shot a final round 72 to beat Tony Lima by a shot. In 1985, Herschel Walker, playing in the USFL for the New Jersey Generals, ran for 233 yards and 2 scores in a 31-25 win over the Houston Gamblers. His 233 yards set a USFL record that also included a league-best 88-yard touchdown run. And in 1989, the movie Major League, starring Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, and Corbin Burnson, opened in theaters. And today's non-sports Did You Know? Russian cosmonauts carry a gun on space missions, not to fight off aliens, but for protection against bears should they land in Siberia upon returning. That's all for today. I'll have more tomorrow on This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.